That is amazing. I was cleaning up my gear closet and I found this thing, the Garmin GPS 38. Looks like a thing from a Bond movie. Jesus Christ. Well, anyway, I remember when I got this. That must have been like 2015. We wanted to go on a mountain trip, as one does, and an old mountaineering club friend said, "Oh yeah, we have a GPS, so you can borrow the GPS from the club." I'm so sorry I haven't returned it yet, but I just remember looking at this thing and I was instantly going like, okay, this is unusable. This is like ancient history. This belongs in a museum, not on a mountain. So I popped it onto the shelf and I haven't touched it ever since. So this thing has been on a shelf for almost 7 years, I think. And then who knows how long it's been on that other person's shelf. So let's open it up, see if it still works. It even smells, as soon as you open it up, it has that like sweet vanilla flavor smell you get from old books. Right, it's interesting. Well packaged. Already looks quite square. Even comes with a little book. That's cool. Oh, here we go. 1996 Garmin International. Wow. In 1996, I wasn't even in high school. 1996, I was still in elementary school. Now, for the moment of truth. Wow, this thing looks unused. It looks brand new, but... what is this? Please tell me it's not true. Somebody left batteries in there, and yes, there we go. It's completely corroded. This probably isn't even going to boot up anymore. Got some vinegar, so let's try to give this a little clean. See if we can get it to work, because that would be awesome. So let's first try to remove the batteries here. Oh, that's another one. Please, please, please. Dang. Oh, it's coming. Thing is stuck like a motherfucker. There we go. 4 batteries. All of them are out. That is actually looking quite alright. I used a slightly acidic vinegar, white vinegar. Absolutely gross. Oh my god, there's so much of it. So what do you guys think? Is it gonna work? Is it going to turn on? Let's push the button and see what happens. Oh my god. Oh my god, guys, there we go. It's turning on. It's turning on. See this? Searching satellite. So yeah. That is amazing. Okay, let's let this thing, find some satellites, and as we do that, I'm just going to read the manual and see what we can do with this thing. Why don't we compare the form factor of this device to my GPS Map 64S, which has been my absolute workhorse these last couple of years. And the first thing that strikes me is that actually the screen size is identical. I mean, the resolution is, of course, nowhere near what this has, but as far as screen size goes, it's exactly the same. It also has buttons instead of a touchscreen. Obviously, I still prefer buttons because it always works, even when it's wet. You can use it with gloves, etc. And then the weight of these things is also pretty similar. I mean, this one is heavier, which is obvious because it uses 4 batteries instead of 2 batteries. Also, both of these devices are weather resistant. And both of these devices have a useful battery life of about 10 to 20 hours, depending on, temperature and all that kind of thing, how much you use it. But I think, in all honesty, we can say that this battery life usually comes down to about 1 full day of moderate to heavy use of the device. So again, pretty similar. But that is where the similarities end. While modern handheld GPS units can be used by people with very limited navigational skills, this device could only really be useful to navigators with a really thorough understanding of using compass bearings and grid references. Essentially, it only really displays coordinates, waypoints, bearings, and distance, and also very few at those. This device can only hold about 20 routes with a maximum of 30 waypoints each. So no map, no tracks to follow paths, no additional information, just the coordinates of your current location and the direction and distance towards a waypoint of your choice. Now, those waypoints, they can be pre-programmed while planning your route at home, but you can also easily enter them in the field. And one really cool feature is that you can enter a new waypoint by entering the bearing and distance from your current location. But you have to keep in mind though that this would require excellent map reading skills. But what this could do, for example, is, okay, you're in dense fog, you know you're at a certain hut or bothy or ski station, you want to reach a very specific trailhead or specific point, well then you could just use your map and your map reading skills to enter that point relative from where you're standing without knowing its exact coordinates. So, I mean, this is quite useful. So, even though it's easy to operate, I can't imagine this device being very useful in anything but relatively flat and open environments. A 1998 GPS comparison article from Backpacker magazine mentioned the unit started to struggle with reception under very modest tree cover. So that's not good. Even though my unit turned on, unfortunately it did not manage to find any satellites. Even after more than an hour of being under an open sky in my backyard, it did not manage to latch onto any satellites at all. So I don't know if this is because my unit is broken or if this would have been the same back then. I mean, I would have loved to have actually taken this thing out in the field, but if it won't pick up any satellites anymore, I mean, that's where it ends. So, in 1996, this device retailed at $129. So, adjusted for inflation, that would be around $230 in today's money. And for that money, you got a device that could bring you to a pinpoint location, that could do rudimentary form of trackback, and which had a man overboard feature. But the weak receiver and its limited waypoints would make it pretty much useless in complex terrain like mountains. But before I get too negative, I mean, we have to keep in mind that this device was for sale before many of us had internet and before we could even imagine something like hiking applications on smartphones. I mean, on days with bad visibility or in featureless terrain, this could have made a huge difference in the hands of a competent navigator. Imagine somebody had told you in 1996 that you could own a pocket-sized device that could locate places with an accuracy expressed in meters. Absolute magic. So in just a couple of years' time, we have come so far in terms of digital navigation aids, things that can just unlock the backcountry and hiking and wilderness areas for so many people, which is great. It's absolutely fantastic. But we should not always keep in mind that the type of user that would have bought this device back then and the type of user that owns this type of device or uses smartphones these days could have been drastically different. I mean, you don't buy this unless you have very thorough basic knowledge of traditional analog map and compass navigation. There's literally no other way that you could have used this device without having this basic knowledge. So if this fails to work, the user would probably just still be fine or just fine enough to find his or her way out. But many of us, we go out hiking using these modern GPS devices or using hiking applications like AllTrails, Komoot, etc. And when our device fails on us, we could be caught out, in quite a nasty or very unpleasant situation because a lot of us no longer have this basic knowledge of standard analog map and compass navigation. Though the point I'm trying to make here is, even though we have these fantastic devices and it's only getting better, knowing how to use a map and knowing how to use a compass to get directions, etc., is always going to remain an essential skill. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this little retro look at this device back here. I'm really curious to know what your first GPS device was. Maybe you've used one of these, like literally actually used them to go out hiking. I would love to meet somebody who actually used this device. So if you did, please let me know, and I'll see you on the next video.